Hello, beautiful people. I'm back from my trip to Kauai. I was gone for a week. Posted on my Twitter, Instagram, etc. And we're gonna take a look at the charts. I was on the charts from my phone a little bit. Um, so just to show what I did and what happened, I was long Bitcoin from right here, and I was offline until here. And I got stopped out on pullback, and I re-entered right here, and I added on here. And I added a small amount in here. Now, I made a bunch of videos calling for Bitcoin all-time high, right? And I was calling for Bitcoin all-time high because no one said it could happen. And it doesn't have to happen, but no, everyone was saying it couldn't happen. And also the funding was so negative. And also, if we looked at the other investment assets, they all look super healthy. I mean, gold is at an all-time high. Silver has been launching. The stock market's recovered very nicely. Dow Jones is just about at an all-time high. 100's lagging a little bit. 500 is right there. I don't see why Bitcoin shouldn't follow, and it has followed. I got to think about my own positioning though, and how I want to try to operate in here. Um, the funding rate is always really important to my decision making because this gives me the actual positioning, not just the, and there's different ways to measure it. But I like to use, we'll go on Twitter. I'm going to go on Twitter. I haven't been on Twitter in a week. I'm curious. I want to look at Twitter and see what the sentiment looks like, which I'll also use and decide. So actually funding looks like it's got pretty positive here, as high as it did. Nah, I mean, if we look at historical, let's go to 4 hour. It's higher here, so it's a point of danger. As high as it was in this section, and as high as it was. But what we saw a bottom printed here pretty obviously in terms of negative funding. And then we saw the second bottom, which I tried to long. And each bottom, the funding went super negative. And we didn't see this in any bottom since March. We saw a little bit in the May bottom, but even the June, no. So to me, this is the bottom. This is a stronger bottom. And I want to stay with the thesis of trading the all-time highs. It's just a question of how to stay with the trade and position myself. I got a pretty large position. Let's look at funding from a different perspective. If we look at it at the moment, it's still pretty healthy. It's negative on some exchanges. The market itself is getting a little bit hot. I haven't really looked at the alt market at all. I don't know what's going on. I saw others' dominance was up. Not looking super healthy for longs, but might be okay to stick with. Take a look, and we'll come back and we'll look at the chart also. But I want to look at the investment assets a little bit, just a little bit, um, and say, wow, like what a pullback, buying this dip. Would have worked great. Yeah, I mean on all of them too. Wow. Um, Yeah, I mean, would have worked awesome. Like we're right back at all-time highs. I expect Bitcoin to follow. It's just a matter of staying with the position. I would rather stay with the position than try to look for reentry. But yeah, I mean, if we look in the 8 hour, this is the markings of a major bottom. Doesn't mean there can't and won't be more pullbacks. There certainly can be. And especially now, it's actually, the market's a little bit hot. So now let's drop into the chart and take a look at where we are. So let's go into the 4 hour. First off, where did we stop? There's a little order block here. We didn't really hit anything significant, to be honest. And we've created on the 4 hour this massive gap down here. So my idea is this gap should be support. If it fails, I want out, right? Because if we fall back in here, it means it's okay to retest this breakout in this gap, right? I want to tolerate this or this. But price doing this is a bad sign because now the second breakout failed and also this whole gap was erased. So I like having my stop under there and it doesn't need to be lower than that. We could even be more aggressive with the stop, I think. Aggressive as in, that seems like a good place to put it though, honestly. So it could kind of evaluate if price comes in here also. As far as weekend entry, if you wanted to be long, I don't want to add to my position, but this seems like an okay place to do it. Um, yeah, I mean, what we saw as well was some pretty nice fair value gap respect on the way up, right? Which gave a lot of possible reentry. And when I saw that, I got lucky a little bit where when I finally logged in at 7 a.m. on Thursday, I got in right here. And then also when I logged in at 7 a.m. on Friday, I also got in here. So I kind of lucked out on my entries. Although I will note that for my first entry was right here at 58,200. I didn't log on that day until then, and I got in. It would have been nice if I had gotten in here. I made my size too large, I guess. I could have maneuvered it better because my stop could have been at 57.5. I had it at 58.5, which was fine because if it was at 58, I would have been pretty unhappy because I would have been barely stopped. Um, but what I did was, yeah, I crept my stop up and I got stopped out. And if I had carried it from 58 to instead of re-entering around 62, it would have made a pretty nice difference. But yeah, typically I run my stops. I often run my stops too tight. I like where the current stop is, though. I think it makes sense. We're seeing, okay, Solana, Bitcoin is not moving. Solana is breaking out or is having a big green day. XRP kind of wicking. ETH's showing a little bit of danger, but it's the weekend, so maybe it doesn't matter. But if we're looking, I'm not interested in long ETH. One, it's just been so weak against Bitcoin, and that hasn't changed. But it's not holding a breakout. It's actually failing as of right now. So want to leave that alone. BNB has been really strong. I wouldn't want to be long BNB. I mean, it's almost close to a place to sell potentially. Doge. Yeah, I mean, if this day fails, it would be something that could possibly happen. If we look at from a fib retracement perspective, I always mix these tools up. If we look at it from a fib perspective, we're already past the golden pocket though, so it's pretty serious. I mean, we see this wick today, but it's Saturday. It doesn't really mean much. I don't really see that there should be a signal to sell or to get out until we start taking some old monthly high. It doesn't mean that we have to get there in one leg, but why not take one of these highs first? And honestly, I expect to not just take this high, but this high for the total three and others. Or at least that's what I would want to see. I don't see myself wanting to be selling shorts at the July high necessarily. I would be much more interested in selling them higher, like looking for a more uh for a breakout. Everybody's saying the bull market's over now. Shit, the bull market ended in March, you buffoons. It's been 6 months. Now you're flipping bearish. It's pretty late. Not to say we can't have more downside, but it's a pretty late call. Bitcoin dominance has been strong. I'm happy with it. ETH dominance has been really weak. I'm glad I'm not long ETH. And altcoins have done really well. I'm not going to look at the individual alts, but yeah, Rare was one that I was watching. As when this thing broke out, I was like, all right, this is a sign that the market's going to start breaking out. Let's look at a couple different ones, some of the more popular ones. Pepe has had a decent move up. We go with. Looks okay. Yeah, some of them are actually in dangerous places where could fail at this weekly high. If Bitcoin looks like that, I would for sure be exiting, or I like to think I would be exiting. What else is there that was hot? Kospa, let's look at Kospa and Ton. Kospa, wow. Yes, a number of them are actually at sell points, but like locally, wouldn't be super careful, comfortable selling here, but I'm just paying attention to possibility. But I think I'm just gonna sit in my Bitcoin long for now, run my stop super wide and reevaluate. There's reasons for me to get out earlier, and then let's look higher because I want to plan that. My feeling is if we take one of these highs, we're going to take all of them, and we're going to go to some big number like 100 or at least 80, 90. Not immediately, but it's been 6 months, and if we start, it seems likely to me that Bitcoin is about to go to new all-time highs and reprice to like 80, 90, 100 or something. It's a little bit preemptive, but I want to be positioned for the possibility. And I guess if we start to take some of these, it would just mean advancing stops. But if the market gets way overheated, I could see myself bailing early, I might not trade it all in one leg, but I don't see a reason to be a seller here. Like we've been trading sideways for some time now, and why not, right? It hasn't given it up. Um, it's just ranging locally on the weekend is all it's doing. And that's kind of a good sign. It's probably building up liquidity under these. So again, I'm not going to do it, but um, it might be reasonable to try to set a limit, something like that, 63.4, something like that. Run a stop all the way down here. I'd rather just sit in my position. Um, yeah, again, if we give up this whole thing, it would surprise me and also it would make me not want to be in the market. But as it is, the possibility of trend continuation and this day looking like one of these days that doesn't get filled, or like this day that doesn't get filled, or one of these days. I mean, they get filled later, right? But they give move up or an exit signal. So um, yeah, I like the idea of trying to stay with it for a while at least. Yeah, ETH, interesting. Sharp moves. Well, we could bleed down and take lower, but yeah, I'm gonna play for the possibility of a home run, and I've mostly de-risked it, at least as far as entry goes. So I'll update you guys later, but I'm trying to get away from scalping and just swing, and this is the swing that we're in. So happy trading, much love, and good luck.